Okay, welcome everybody to this quick tutorial for trains and signaling. Just a quick introduction, really. I just want to try and explain, because I've seen quite a few posts on things like Steam. People are a little confused, and I think using pattern signals when they don't really need to use pattern signals, and perhaps there's a reason why, which we'll get into. So first things first, how do you do a train? How do you set up trains in the first place? So I think it's tier 6. Do you actually open these up? This is what you open up. So you open up electric cars with freight cars, and then that will either be train station, which is what you need to put a locomotive in, and then your freight platforms. That will depend on how much freight you have per each locomotive. So if you got like 5 of these set up, you'd have 5 freight cars on the back of perhaps 1 or perhaps 2 locomotives, depending if you've got any severe inclines. So and you got some empty platforms, and I'm just using, I've not yet on the ones that are in, I haven't got any freight cars. I've just recently done the electric locomotive, and I think one's got a freight car, but I've not put any freight platforms in there. I've just put 1 train station itself and 1 empty platform, and you build it with rail. So what have I got here? So I've got 2 stations, so A and B. This is B, that's A. So we've got this train here, which is what we call a bidirectional train. So basically 1 train track, and the train rides in both directions. So what this has is 2 opposing locomotives, so one facing one way and the one facing the other. When it gets to the end of the line, to the station at the end of the line, it stops. So we're on this front one right now. It stops, and then it will flip round and move to this locomotive for its back journey. So overall, you've got several options. You can go through several stations, on one line and then back up. There's no restriction. But the point is that there is no, there's only 1 track, and the trains can go both ways. In certain locations, you can still use the track, and you could put, for example, if I pop out, you could put passing lines in there, if I get my flight mode in, by just adding other, let's wait for this guy to go. So you could put passing lines in, for example. So that's going to let me do it there. Where was he going to do it there? Going to get me on the finger here. Let me just delete that for a second. So if I just come out to there like so, and then contemplate that. And you can just do something like that, for example. And it doesn't matter which way you do it, but you could put a passing lane in like that, for example. But effectively you're making a journey, but you get the point. You can put a passing track, but it won't use that track unless you tell it to. And how you tell it to is it will always pick the quickest track depending on your signaling. So that's what I want to go to now. So like I said, we've got this one next, which is, this is a 1-way track. Now I've got 2 stations here, C and D, so it pulls into C and then travels round to D. Now, the difference of the train stations on this one is they're all facing the direction of travel. So they're not opposing like the first one over there. They're all facing in the same direction. and in this case it's the forward direction, and it'll literally just go round in an endless loop. Now, this is what you would normally have if you have a multi-track. You can also have it just as one track, you know, it's just one loop, or you can have two tracks where you would have another one, you know, parallel to it going in the opposite direction. But like I said, this is quite a normal one, just a loop like that, or this one which is bidirectional up and down. So without signals, they work absolutely fine. But it's what happens when we have another train on the track. So if I go into this one, and I don't know, let's give it let's say we'll take this to B where it's facing, and we'll take it down to E. Save changes. Oh, it doesn't matter, I'm on it. Look at that. As I was changing, it crashed because it's on the line and that train has no idea it's there. Okay. So I don't need to prove that rule now. So this one can go back onto the rail. And let's go back in and set that going again, turn on self-driving. So basically, if you've got any lines that cross with trains going on opposing lines, we'll say, once then lines cross, the chance of hitting each other increases, and if they do, they'll smash each other and basically they'll all come off the track. So how do we combat that? Well, we combat that by the addition of signalling. Now, signalling is, how can I say, it can be very confusing or very straightforward, depending how you take it, depending how you understand it. And effectively what it's doing is this. So I'm going to start off with the easiest. So the easiest is a blocking signal. So a blocking signal isn't what it sounds. It's not to block a train. So if I do a blocking signal here and then end it at the station there, this is a block. So between this signal here, which is the starting block, is terminated by another blocking signal, which is the terminating block. And in between that, if we highlight that, you see that yellow bit in there? That is the actual block. So what happens is that if there's a train within that, and I can put a train in that now, so that's currently green. If I put a train in there now, it goes to a red signal or no entry sign, whichever way you want to look at it. But basically, it's not going to let any other train in there because there's a train in that block. So if we had that up here on our junction, when a train was coming across here and a train was coming down, then that train would be stopped while that is in the block, and that's what's happened here. So in the yellow block, there's a train sat there, so it's not going to let it pass. Now I can delete that. It's going to let it in. Now, because we've added these two blocks, it's not just that it's a block. It's saying that one is also the end of this block and the start of the next. And I think that's where the confusions come in. A lot of people think if I put a block here, because this is all I want the block to be. I don't want to block anywhere else. Well, I'm afraid that's not how it works. Basically, when you put a block, that is the end of a block and the start of a block. So this here, so if the train's in there, so if I put this train back in here, it's wrong way around. So let me do that way. Let me do the right way around, you know, because this is where it's going, so it needs to be in that direction. Right, that's a no entry. It won't go anywhere because no trains will come into here because of that. However, this train can't leave here too because that's a no entry as well. That's a red light. Why is that a red light? Because this is the start of this red block, and this red block has no other blocks. So it goes all the way around. And you might think to yourself, oh, okay, how come these trains are running? Why are they not stopped? Because they're within the red block already. So there's no signal to stop them. So, however, if I put, let's say, a blocking signal here on this one, and then here on that one, once they come in to this, they're not going to be able to move. So that's the red signal, so stopping anything else come in, but that's not green. And why is that? That's because this is still playing about in the red system. So how can I stop that? Well, I can put a signal there, but in this case, because it's a dead end, I have to put a signal on the other side as well. Yeah, so you take that as a loop in a single dual system, in a single line bidirectional system. Because we've got two things, we can almost take that as a connected loop. So that's in, and then that's out. So it's just because we're putting a train on the other side, we're negating that. So now when this goes in, this will go out. So, but you see, everything in that red will stop anything else going. I can do the same on this as well. This is a loop system, so I can put it both on this side. So now everyone will have a go. So now that's in there. Now it's allowing that to do. And by the time that gets into there, so if I do this quickly, let me do it, come on. It's being a bit finicky. There we go. So now that's locked into the system, but it's not letting it go anywhere because this has just gone in, that's just gone in now, so this should be released. So you see, everything in the red here is blocked, and that's what we don't want. So once you've got an interconnected system like this, and basically once your rails are connected, it's interconnected, even if they go out in a star with no loop back, it's all connected. So what you do, you make your blocks a reasonable size to allow trains to move. So for example, I could put one here, which makes that a red block now, and that an orange one. And then I can put it, let's say, here, and makes that a yellow block. And then let's say going into the system, we also do it, I don't know, got to look for a break in the line, you see, so looks like that's the break in the line. So that's the green there. Right, so now we understand what a block is. So basically anything in a different color, if there's a train in that, it will keep any other trains will arrive in the preceding section. So basically anything what's in the yellow, it won't let it progress. So what do we do here? So this is just going up and down, but potentially it can go from here to that direction, or you could go from here to that direction. But let's say we don't want to do that. We want to just go up and down. So if we put a block up here and then exit is it here, so that's 2 blocks, and that's all working nicely. So notice now they're two different colors, and then conversely when it's going up the other way, like so, same deal, but it will wait there while that train is there, because potentially that train can go in the yellow. So let's look at fixing that now. So this is going in one direction, so we can put a block here and we can put a block there. And then around here again we can put a block here and we can put a block there. So this yellow's creeping down now, so it's only this bit here which is now yellow and predicted, which gives more movement for the rest of the stuff. So they're less likely now to be stopped because we've cut this block down now. It's just this section here. Now that would be good enough, to be honest. So what we would want to do now is this train down here. Let's say this train down here was going to pay a visit. So this was going to pay a visit to, let's have a look at, go back in the track. So let's edit the timetable. So this starts at, we're at E. So it's going to go to C, D, and then back to E again. Save the changes. Turn on self-driving. Now let's click on that so we can highlight the blocks. So we can see what the blocks are doing here. So we're heading into the yellow now. So we're heading into our danger zone. It got there first. So it stopped the other trains. So everything in the yellow, as soon as it leaves the yellow, it'll let this go. There you go. So this can go now. So that's going to that one, then it'll fight its way to across this one over here. But we've got a moving system now, and we've only added a couple of blocks. But it's still not optimized. And I also want to show you the paths. So that's come up here. This is on a block here. So you could put another block here. And then as long as, and this is the entrance to this junction here. And then another block here for the entrance to that junction there. And then another block here. Let's say that's going to go. Yeah, that doesn't make any sense actually. That is my, if I'm going right, it can't go there, it's got to go in that direction. So, my error here, so that wouldn't happen. So what would happen here will be that would go 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So let's just take that. So to get a perfect curve, you're up three foundations and then across 3 foundations, and that should be exactly it, straight line. And then same here, up 3 foundations and then out 3 foundations, like so, and then join like so. That's better. Now we're cooking with gas. So now this is going to go potentially into that one because it can go in that direction, but it also can go into this one because it can go into that direction. However, when you're putting block system in, you notice that we're flashing. So let me take these blocks out and let me try to explain, because I might be getting you confused here. So we've got one big junction. So there are some rules to we can probably make that a little smaller. And put another block in there. It should be fine, I think. Right, so our green block here is one big block, but this is what we call a junction. Now, there's a rule for blocking signals that when you enter a junction, it needs to have on every entrance a blocking signal, and it needs to have on all the exits of the junction a blocking signal. So the junction in this first one here, we've got three possible entrances. We got this one, that's a possible entrance. We've got this one, that's a possible entrance, and we've got ours ones here, and that's a possible entrance. Because the ones that go straight through don't connect. So it's these what connect here. So we've got one here with a blocking signal, and we've got a blocking signal on the exit. Now on this one, we've already got a blocking signal on the entrance, and we haven't got one on this exit because it would be over there. So that doesn't count. The actual exit to this junction is straight on, and there's a blocking signal there. Same for this side. It wouldn't turn, it could potentially turn right here, so it has got a blocking signal there, and it potentially can go straight on. It has got a blocking signal there. So we're good. So all the lights are green. What had the problem is when we got to the next one. So let's look at the next one on its own. So going into the next junction. So our train comes in here. So this is this junction here. How many potential for this junction? Well, there's this direction, there's this direction, and then there's this direction. So we need a blocking signal there, which is a block there, and then just to make it simple, we'll block it there as well. So them two are blocked there. And it's still flashing because we haven't finished yet. So the other blocking signal is coming from here. So that's coming in, blocking signal there. So that needs to have a blocking signal there. And then finally, we got this signal here, which is coming all the way down here. Now that needs a blocking signal there. So now we've got this as a block, that as a block, that as a block, and everybody's working. So do you understand the principle on that? It's really easy once it clicks, but sometimes you need to revisit and revisit. But the idea is to try to make these junctions as small as possible. And the only way you can do that is by putting on every entrance a block and every exit to that entrance a block. Now, there's no problem in making a huge junction, but the problem is the bigger that junction, the bigger that block, the more chance that you're going to have trains passing all over the place, and it's going to slow your whole train system down. So the smaller the better in reality. So this one is really good. Right, that is blocking. And that is the easy one. But now you understand the principle. The next one that we do have to talk about is pathing signals. Now, what is a pathing signal? A pathing signal acts like a blocking signal. However, if you're in a block but if there's a train in a block, a blocking signal would block any other trains. Pathing signal will do the same thing. It will block any trains if there's a train already in a block, unless the path wouldn't cause a crash, wouldn't cause connection. So a pathing signal could technically allow more trains into the system or into a block. So it is only used, so don't use pathing, because pathing signals will confuse it. Don't use pathing signals for anything else but a complicated junction where you can allow more than one train in a block. So for example, this train going across here at the top, you don't want it to be affected by this one here. So if this was a huge block, you could put pathing signals instead, and we would allow this to go past uninterrupted without stopping it like it would under a blocking system. So I appreciate it's difficult to get your head around. Once it clicks, you'll be thinking to yourself, God, why didn't I think of that? Because it is straightforward, but you do have to get it in mind. So let's first of all clean this back up. So if I get rid of these first, so I'm gonna get rid of all these intermediary ones. I'm gonna get like a large junction again, because this will explain pathing a lot easier. So let's have a look. Have I left any out there? Okay, possibly got a bit overkill there, so let me just put a path over there. Let's have a look. Is there anything else? Yeah, path there. Yeah, that'll just big enough. Right, you see this train is stopped by this train here, and also stopped by that train there. See, it's waiting for that to leave. As soon as it gets into the station, it should have time for this to go. And you think to yourself, well, actually it's still stopped because this one's coming in now. And now it's blue, now it should be allowed to go. You think to yourself, why is that? And this is slowing down because that's in the yellow. It'll speed back up because it'll catch it, but at the end of the day, why is that slowing down for that? There's no need for it. So in this case, you can actually put in a path signal. Now in this case, let me put another blocking signal in here. So that's a blocking signal there. And that's a blocking signal there. So basically what we got here, we got just this section here, which is, so this is one long, we'll call it a complex junction. You can make it easy, and you probably wouldn't have this in real life, but it's good for the example. So we got one train, which is obviously going through this station here, and then coming back down, you know, going through a couple of others, and then crossing. So that's our problem child. Otherwise, it wouldn't affect these two here. So you got to think to yourself, okay, then, well, I need a pathing system then. Now, there is a problem with a pathing system, is the pathing system needs to have, for a pathing system to work, it does need to have a path signal on every single entrance to the junction. You can't have a pattern signal on one entrance and then another entrance of the same junction. It can't be a block signal, otherwise it won't work. Let me show you. So let's take this one for example. So this is the top entrance of our junction. So I am going to change this to a pattern signal instead. Bang. It's going to come up with arrows, exclamation marks. So that's saying, don't like that one. So there's only one reason for this, and one reason only, is that every single entrance to this junction, so every entrance to this single yellow green junction has to have a pattern signal. So that's not an entrance, that's an exit. That is an entrance to it, so that needs to be a pattern signal. And then finally, actually we got this one as well, and that one needs to be a pattern signal. And then finally we've got this one here is an entrance, and then that one there is an entrance, and magically that works. So you see that, them two up there? Now normally they wouldn't be allowed to share that, but because of the pattern signal now, it's allowing it, because it's saying, well, you're not going to affect it down here, so even if it's in the same block, it's not going to affect me. Now this one is going to be the same, so that's going to go through into that block, no problem, but it's letting that one in as well, that's no problem. This one would be a problem because it is going to go down here. So once this comes out, hopefully it'll be a case when this is coming back. Yeah, this is gonna start to come back. Now this time this will stop, because this is going to be a problem this time. So it is slowing down, see? And now it's going to let it go because it reaches it out. So that's how a pattern system works. But the importance to remember is, for a pattern system, is you do not use it unless you absolutely need to, because there is no merit to it, and it can actually be difficult. Now you can end a pattern signal with another pattern signal, so you can continue it on, but it can get difficult. See, that's waiting, because that's waiting for that to come out of there. It's looking at the pattern signal to say, am I clear? It knows that was in there, so it wasn't. So yeah, so remember, 3 main rules. A blocking signal, the first blocking signal you place is the start of the block and the end of the block. And the end of the block could be the whole railway if you only put one in. So as soon as you put one in, you're going to have to layer the whole thing, otherwise you're going to have trains stopping. So that's important. You put one signal in and it all becomes a block. The second signal you put in terminates that block. How big a block you want, that would depend. I would put like a train and a half in there, potentially. So if you've got, like, you know, I mean, that's a good size block there. It just keeps trains going. Like I said, a block section will prevent any trains entering that block while another train is present. And second, important for blocks, is that on junctions, you need a block at the entrance, well, every entrance to the junction on the direction of travel. So any possible entry, a train may arrive. And then on the exits, on the exits of all the junctions, there has to be a block to terminate that said junction. And then finally, for pattern signals, only use pattern signals when it comes down to complex junctions where there's a potential of you can have more than one train in one block without there causing an issue, because they're never going to cross. Certain trains won't cross, some will. So the pattern signals allows the system to check the path of the train to see, can he go into that block or not? Is he safe? After that, don't bother using it. And just remember that for every pattern signal on the entrance, it needs at least a block or another pattern signal on the exit. And also, all the entrances to that particular block needs to have a pattern signal. You can't mix and match path and blocks on the entrance. Each one has to be a pattern signal, then they will all work. I would keep playing this video, keep trying it out, keep, you know, just going at it. Eventually it will click. It took me a long time, and it was only that somebody explained it once in a video similar to this. Well, it probably was nothing like this actually, but the biggest take out of that, it says, for the entrance of a junction, everything has to be a signal. Block or all path, and every exit has to be a block, but it could also be a path on the exit, so you can combine them. But on the entrances, you can only have blocks or you can only have all paths, so you can't have both. And try to keep your junctions as small as possible. It makes it more efficient. But yeah, leave me a comment if you've got any further questions. Are you still struggling? You know, I can always expand a bit more. It is a tough topic to get your head around, but seriously, once you do, you'll be kicking yourself. It's like anything in life. It's always complicated until you know how to do it, and then you think, what the hell? And I'm not saying it's easy. It really is mind-blowing. It took me forever to actually get this in my head. But the biggest thing is keep your blocks reasonable size to keep traffic flowing, and make sure that when you're doing a junction as one block junction, you make sure that every entrance to that junction has all blocks or all paths signaling, and don't mix and match, and make sure all the exits have a block or have a pattern signal. You can mix that. Hope that's been useful to you all. If it has, let me know. If it's not, if it's still confusing, let me know again. I'll see if I can, if you let me know particular what problems you've been having, then I might be able to help you to point you in the right direction. Hopefully we'll get it to working. Believe you me, it's a frustrating thing, but it is simple. And you know, I work for Network Rail, so it's pretty simple, but it is reasonably realistic too. So yeah, anyway, thanks all, and I will speak to you all soon. Bye everybody.